Welcome to the second session of Cultures of Peace. Before we begin, I would like to acquaint you with Zubaan and the program today. Zubaan is a feminist publishing house and NGO that has taken active part in chronicling, publishing, and participating in the women's movement in India and South Asia. The webinar today is part of the 2020 programming for Zubaan's Cultures of Peace Festival of the Northeast project, run in collaboration with Heinrich Boyle Stiftung India. The Cultures of Peace project aims to create spaces for conversation on issues relevant to the Northeastern states through the avenue of the arts and culture, that is photography, writing and literature, filmmaking, activism, and more. Today's session, Food Cultures of the Northeast, will also focus on the politics of producing and consuming food in the northeastern region of India. The session will be chaired by Dolly Kikon, who is a feminist and an anthropologist who teaches at the University of Melbourne in Australia. Her work focuses on the political economy of extractive resources, migration, development initiative, gender relations, food cultures, and human rights in India. Moving on to our speakers, we are joined by Seno Tsuha, who is a community development leader in Chizami village, Nagaland, a primary school teacher, and is a member of the Northeast Network. She, along with her team, have been committed to gender justice, sustainable livelihood, and restoring traditional food systems and agricultural practices in Nagaland. Puspadhar Das is a farmer based in Baska, Assam. His practices include mechanization, multi-cropping, dairy farming, SRI, among others. He is a member of the Sita Jokhola Dairy Cooperative Society. We will be later joined by Shubhra Devi Hanjabam, who is an entrepreneur based out of Imphal. She also heads Mera Foods. We were supposed to be joined by Shri Kunti Bora. Unfortunately, she will not be able to join us due to a medical emergency. Our other speaker, Amba Japur, will also not be joining us today. Before we start, I would like to just go over the rules for participation for participants attending today. Thank you for being here. Your video and audio have been automatically turned off on entry. Please do keep them turned off. Audience questions will be taken via the chat box, which we will close once we get a certain amount of questions that can be answered today. However, the raise hand function will still be available to direct any queries at the hosts, me along with the other hosts with Zubaan in their name. We will start dealing with audience questions soon. If there's any speaker in particular you want to direct your questions to, please make sure to mention that as well. The discussion will be recorded and posted online via our social media channels. If you choose to ask a question via the chat box, your name might be displayed during the webinar. Entry has been moderated to guard against trolling. No hate speech, targeting, or discriminating against any community will be tolerated. Any participants using any such speech will be removed from the webinar without any warning. To quote any of our speakers out of the session, please clear it with us by writing to us at contact@zubaanprojects.org. We will now begin the session. Over to you, Dolly.
Thank you so much, Zubaan, and thank you to all the speakers. I welcome everyone to this wonderful cultures of food practices in Northeast India. And as I zoom in from Melbourne as your chair for this webinar, I would like to take this platform by acknowledging the indigenous owners of this land and that I am in occupied colonized land. I pay my respects to elders past, present, and future. Such wonderful introductions to all our three speakers for this afternoon in India and evening, a lovely evening here in spring Melbourne. And regretting from the two of our speakers will not be joining us this afternoon, but with three amazing speakers, I would really like to open the platform. If there was another way of introducing this wonderful three speakers, I would say that all of them are visionaries, and they have influenced and they have, in a sense, I think, nurtured our taste buds all these years. Sano's vision about food sovereignty, and also the Millet Initiative, her vision about the beautiful fabrics. Right here, this is from Chezani Weaves. I nurture the work they do. It's lovely and it's very beautiful. Puspadhar is a scientist, one of our luminaries and legends from the Northeast. And among many things, I shall reveal a secret this afternoon. He is also my teacher, and you might be wondering how. He played a very crucial role in sending me to grad school at Stanford. When I was preparing for the GRE, I had no idea what to do with the entire logic and mathematics section. And Pushpa would come home every morning, dot at 7, give me tuition in return for lunch, which would usually be pork with bamboo shoot or some dry fish, and we would all eat lunch by 8 or 8:30 in the morning. So he has played a central role in my life and where I am today. So I really take this honor and this pleasure to welcome him. And Shubhra's Mera food has nurtured me and has made me go all around Imphal with my friend Anjulika, who is here in this webinar, and she will testify. Sometimes even Imphal searching for those pickles, those fish pickles. And so I really thank her for the vision to give us amazing food from the region. And without much delay, I would really like to call upon our speakers. First, I would like to call upon Seno, and I had mentioned that we'll have 7 minutes each, but perhaps we can take 7 to 10 minutes since two of our speakers have dropped out for various reasons. So Seno, can I call upon you to take your time and please come and share your experience with us?
Okay. Yeah, so thank you for this wonderful opportunity and a very exciting and interesting topic, the food culture of the Northeast. As we were given like 2 minutes or 3 minutes extra, I would like to do a little bit in a different way to introduce myself. If I am to recall the first farming in the Jum fields, I recall going along with my parents to do millet sowing. That was the first sowing experience in my life, which I might be around 7 to 8 years old. If I am to recall the memories of going to the forest to forage leafy vegetables, then it is my mother who took me to the forest, our community forest, along with her friends. It was a whole day, but a fun-loving, very rich experience, and I vaguely recall that. And if I'm to recall community hunting, hunting is not a very friendly word in this day, present day, but I recall myself going along with my peer groups to the jungle for hunting. And if I am to recall the memories of collecting fish, it is community fishing in our very small stream. And those are the memories of food, which is more than 3 decades, I should say. And today's topic on food culture, I would like to share about, like our culture surrounding around food, and also the kind of work that we do at Northeast Network to bring about some positive changes for a sustainable future. Let me share the screen. I have only one screen to share. Yeah, just give me a minute. Yeah, so when we talk about food, food is something that we all need for our living. Food is something that connects us, that connects the lives of the people and also regenerates our life. Food is something that bonds communities, that bonds families, that bonds friends, and that even travels across borders. Food is something that we carry with us. And food is something that we carry with us the memories of our childhood that also bring closeness to intergenerational solidarities because we continue to keep the learnings that we have had from our parents, from our grandparents, especially mothers and grandmothers. Food is something that has brought along us, whether it is in a community festivals, whether it is something to do with healing when a person gets sick, or whether it is something to do with sharing with your neighbors or sharing with your friends or your communities. Food is not just for sustenance. It is something that is more than for our survival. It has political, it has social, it has spiritual, it has cultural and social connotations attached to it. And this is something, is with every communities across the world. And this food culture varies from place to place, but of course very much evolves around the natural environment and landscape, or even like weather and history. It is deeply rooted into environment, natural environment, because the food basket that you see in the slide, in the screen, is, our food basket comes from the fields, the farm agricultural land, the forest, the jum fields, the small streams and rivers and ponds, and from the homestead gardens. Our food basket is such that it evolves around our natural environment, and these connections makes us to rely very much on the environment, on the biodiversity, and food is something that we call it biocultural diversity. And this is unique to different different regions of the world, and it varies from ethnic groups to ethnic groups. Some are very similar, but like every tribe, every indigenous communities, every community have some kind of ethnic flavors, which we call it as our food, as our as something that relates to our local biodiversity, as something that relates to our culture. So this is something that, when we talk about food, it evolves around our natural environment very much, and it evolves around the people who lives in that natural environment, and the knowledge systems that is attached to the people, to the communities living in that area. When we look at this, it is something that, food is of course like grown or foraged or collected or gathered from these sources that you see in the slide. And we have different ways of, turning into culinaries, which will be, made in such a way that is that meets the needs of the taste buds of the community who makes, who prepares, who gathers, and who grows that kind of food. And I should say that, in short, if we look at this food basket, it is all to do with the food sovereignty that we talk about, or that we have been passed on by to till this generation by our foreparents. This is something that, if we look at the food, the screen, the food basket that we relate to the food that we grow and then we collect and forage, it's all encompasses around food sovereignty. It is something that we picked up, that we grow, that we are blessed with, the abundance by the natural environment. And this is something that is to do with food sovereignty, which has, sustained us through generations. But when we look at the present times, it is changing, and there are big concerns on this. The food basket that we see in the screen is vanishing day by day. The kind of food platter we see at home. The food travels all the way from northern India. The food travels all the way from South India. Not even like within our own country, but it has also traveled all the way from Myanmar or even China, or even some biscuits from Germany or America or whatnot. So the kind of, like the food platter we are talking about and the food basket we are talking about is changing. And this is because of various reasons. One can be globalization. One can be, of course, like the changing lifestyles that people are adapting every day, that the alienation between our own land, the alienation between our own culture, the alienation between our own, community life, which has replaced this food platter with food that comes from outside, food that have very little to do with nutritional value, food that is very little to do with our, to do with our culture. And this is something, is a great concern, and this has, of course, many reasons, many factors which have contributed to this change. And it is not a very positive, or I should say, it is not a very good picture when we look at the food sovereignty aspects, because the market food is replacing the food that we get from our environment. The land changes, the crop patterns, from biodiverse farming to monoculture. The policy supports the other kind of so-called progressive farming methods, which have given very little attention to biological or biodiverse agroecological agriculture practices. And these are some of the reasons that it's a threat. It's given us a threat towards food insecurity and nutritional insecurity. And in this context, we at Northeast Network, what we are doing in our small way is we are making every effort to bring back some of the indigenous seeds, the indigenous grains, which we have somehow forgotten due to various reasons. Some, of course, definitely by external forces. Our chair, Dolly, has requested me to show millets, and this is something that I want to show, that this is one of the many indigenous varieties that Northeast Network has been making an effort to bring back the indigenous crops, and for a very genuine and very good reasons. Because when we talk about millets, this is not only a grain, this is not only a crop, but this is a concept, because this has spiritual, cultural, political, and like social connotations to it, to food. So this is something that like Northeast Network is trying to do, promoting biodiverse farming, millet-based biodiverse farming, identifying some of the local indigenous crops which are good for to fight climate crisis, because this is one of the biggest threat that the world is facing now. And to see that there is a policy advocacy to see that the government supports this kind of agroecological practices. And this is something that Northeast Network is trying to do. We have also been like trying to promote the traditional indigenous seeds, and to make sure that the community people start conserving local traditional seeds. And like the community seed banks have been initiated in different villages that we are trying to do. And also like to make sure that the local the livelihoods are around the local ecosystems, that we try to strengthen whatever is available. A lot of awareness have gone into it, because if we look at even the diet if we look at the diet diversity, that is also coming down. The diet diversity, the kind of diet diversity in Chisami, we have the Northeast Network have done a very small study, and we found that there are 240 plus edibles. But when we went from house to house and meeting with the community people, we found out that the community people are eating only like 20%, 40 kinds of edible herbs and all. So where are 100 plus edibles? It is like unused. So like there are also like a lot of issues, and like a lot of issues. And why we have used this, again, I want to emphasize, is this nutritional value. This can withstand heat, so this is a very good climate compliant grain. This has also like health benefits, and like a lot more. And the kind of work that we have been doing is like at a very slow pace, but it is now back to our farmlands, and it is also showing up in our plates again, which we feel very happy. There is a lot more to go. And uh, we feel that when we are trying to promote this kind of grains and to bring back traditional farming practices, we feel that this is something that will define the identity struggles of our people. We feel that there is a strong need to come together to advocate for policy support for this kind of ecological farming, to reorganize even the food trade, that the food that travels all the way from like other countries or other states needs to be minimized. And I think it is time for us all to come together, to promote a food system which is healing, which is also a hope for a sustainable future, with our own sovereign food identities. And I feel one last point is, like we need to document food cultures and support the local markets. Thank you so much.
Wow, this was an amazing starting point, and I think I have a horrible job, so I should complain to Zubaan for giving me the role of chair and timekeeper. This requires many days and perhaps a lifetime of conversations and dialogues. But for all of us zooming in, which is around 104 participants, and this will be put on YouTube, I would request you all to follow the work, the ideas that Seno is giving us. And without any delay, I would like to call upon Pushpa to take the stage. Tell us about your visions, and you have around 10 minutes, Pushpa, so take it away, it's your time.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Seno, for such a wonderful introduction to the whole session. I think although I'm not directly working in the food culture sector, like I'm involved in the agriculture sector, and I feel agriculture is the root of food culture, and even the farm agriculture has the culture in it. But somehow we have lost the agriculture used to be very closely entwined with our livelihood in our lifestyle, but somehow this has been lost. Like people are migrating to other activities, people like are migrating from villages to cities, and somehow we have lost the culture in agriculture, and it has become like a kind of it has become a business. But that's not bad also. But today I'm going to share some of my experiences that I have, some of the projects that I'm involved in, the experience that I have gathered from there. So let me first start with what is happening in our rural areas. In the rural areas, major economic activity is the agriculture. Like 80% of the population rely on agriculture for their livelihood. But agriculture is it's still in the primary sector, not much secondary value addition activities. Migration to the cities, then again, like due to COVID, there are reverse migration. But interestingly, the number of farmers is decreasing. And proportion of farmers in the total labor force, that is also decreasing. Youths are not skilled, and these are the major problems like alcoholism, addiction to mobile phones, games, and even you can find lots of people getting into drugs also. It's a very alarming situation in the villages. We have been trying to promote farming as a career choice for our new generation, but somehow we are not able to do it. Some of the reasons that we have identified are in our villages, paddy is the major crop, and it is not very remunerative. Elsewhere in other states of the country, like Haryana, Punjab, Andhra Pradesh, and all, they have a very good system of government procurement. which is not happening in our state. Very like out of the total production of rice, for example, only 4% or something is procured by the government. Second problem for rice cultivation is the low productivity. Like our low productivity is hardly 3 tons per hectare, where average Indian production is 5 to 6 tons per hectare. Again, another problem is the lack of skilled farmers in the horticulture and livestock farming. And again, another problem we face is the scarcity of labor during peak farming activities. Like for example, in rice cultivation, during the time of transplantation, and even during the time of harvesting also, you don't find many people working in the fields. Another problem is the drudgery, like the amount of physical hardship that is required in farming. It is also, like very high. Earlier, people used to, like people were hardworking. People used to have very, like very good physical strength. That is why it was easier for them to, like perform all these activities. But I think due to food habit or due to, like our lifestyle, due to so many various reasons, we have lost, like the physical figure, like physical vigor of vigor, and all these farming activities have become a burden for us. Again, another problem is the like minimum infrastructure available in our fields. Like there is no irrigation facility, farm machineries are not there, and even post harvest management. These are not facilities are not there in our villages. After that comes even after production, you don't have proper facilities for distribution, for warehousing, even for like market is to like it is very difficult to get a market for our local production. So because of these reasons, I think like farming has not become a popular like activity for the young generation, and even like the older generation, they are also slowly quitting the farming as their livelihood. We have chosen Baska as like district for our activities because Baska is my ancestral district, and also because Baska is endowed with so much natural resources. Like we have free water flowing from the foothills of Bhutan. We have like ample, very fertile land. We have a very strong workforce also there working in the agricultural field. Actually, we're working through 2 NGOs. One is SESTA and another is GVM. Our focus is on community-based organization. We feel that unless the farmers are organized into like into groups, as an individual farmer, it will be very difficult to to gain something from agriculture, be it in the market, be it in the production, be it in the farming activity. Also, we need to be very closely organized. Singly, one single farmer cannot do like farming activities. Another, our focus is irrigation through traditional Dongban system. If you are aware of the Dongban system in Baksar district, actually this is a very old, almost 100-year-old system, where people they manage the like water flow, they manage the irrigation canals, they even manage how and when water will flow to their fields. So this is a very interesting system actually. If you happen to visit Baksa or even other foodhill districts like Udalguri, Kokrajhar and all, this system, you will see this system, traditional Dongma system, being managed by the community. But due to lack of because the new generation is not very keen to get involved in these activities, these like systems are getting they're going. Another, the third focus is the farm mechanization. As I have told earlier, because of physical drudgery, people are not getting involved in agricultural activities. But if we can increase the farm mechanization levels in our farms, I think there will be more production, and also new generation will come for farming. As Seno was telling about diversity in our food, we are generally growing rice only, but we also need to grow other crops for it. We used to get like all this from our forests and even our homestead gardens. But since all these forest areas and homestead gardens, their areas are reducing, they're not easily available for us right now. So unless we grow various horticulture crops for for ourselves, our nutritional, we will not be able to fulfill our nutritional requirements. So we are also trying to focus on horticultural crops to provide nutritional security. The training of youth is very important because we are less skilled. So these are the activities that we are trying to do in Baska district. So if you talk of what we are trying to do in the next 5 years, one thing that we want to do is that with terrain development. Let me tell one thing. Actually, the development of agriculture has been quite unbalanced. There is an imbalance between what more agricultural developed states have attained and the state that we are in. For example, the level of mechanization, level of agricultural development that other states like Punjab, Haryana, they have reached, the level of development that our states are there, there's a huge difference. One of the ways by which we can compete with all those developing states is, I feel that's farm mechanization. Unless we, we are able to increase farm power, unless we are able to develop, farm mechanization in our fields, we will not be able to develop our agriculture sector, and will always remain as a net food importer. It's very interesting to know that even though rice is the major crop in our state of Assam, we import almost 1.6 million tons of rice every year. That, almost 15,000 crores of, worth of rupees of rice that is being imported to our state. Whereas if we develop our lands, if we increase our land productivity, we can, we can stop that import and we can be self-sufficient in our rice, in rice. And when rice sector develops, when farmers get more income from rice, I think they will also take up other crops, just to supplement their income, and also just to increase our nutritional nutritional options. So in order to do that, we have identified these 5 major activities. One is terrain development. That is to say, our lands are not suitable for mechanization, because our lands are we have in many places we have hilly areas. Even in plain areas, we have very undulating features, undulating terrain, which makes it very difficult to use machineries like tractors and harvesters, all those things. So our first focus will be development of terrain. Terrain will not only enable us to ease the use of machine, it will also help us to manage our water resource properly, because it has been seen that if we improve our terrain, the water use efficiency will also increase. Like if we needed 100 liters of water to grow 1 kg of rice, and if we have a proper terrain development, we'll be able to do it in 30% of the water. So that way we'll increase our land water efficiency also. Drainage development is one area where we'll be focusing more, because if you visit the paddy fields, if you visit the villages, you'll see that uncontrolled flow of water have caused much damage to our fields. You'll see lots of erosions. You'll see lots of we call it ulta khanda, like out of nowhere there'll be river flowing in our fields. So unless we develop this drainage of rainwater and drainage of water that flows from the Bhutan foothills, we'll slowly lose the fertility of our land. Third thing we're focusing is on organizing farmers into cooperatives. As I've told earlier, one single farmer cannot make all these changes alone. We have to be organized. We have to be organized in order to have more bargaining power in the market. We have to be organized to have facilities and resources developed. Fourth, we're focusing on is multiple cropping, which will increase, not only, as I've told, which will increase our income of the farmers, as well as increase our nutritional security. All of these things will have the ultimate goal of increasing our yield of the crops, which will help in increasing farmers' income. So this is what I have to tell. I have to I have to share. I don't know how to like link all this agriculture into food culture, but I think there is a very close link, because if we cannot develop our own agriculture, if we cannot grow our own crop, if we cannot use science and technology in our farm, we'll remain importer. We'll have to, instead of rice, we'll have to eat roti. Instead of the vegetables that are available in our nature, instead of eating this, we'll have to eat like whatever imported from outside. Like so, I hope I'm sure that I'll be able to organize our farmers into and motivate our farmers to adopt all this, and that's what I have to say. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much.
If I have time, I want to show. Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
can I show if I have time? Can I show a small video of how people manage the traditional dongband in Baska? Maybe later.
Yeah, we can do that later. Yeah, surely. But I would like to now call upon our third speaker for this wonderful webinar, Shubhra. Shubhra, are you here from Mera Food? So Shubhra, you have 10 minutes to explain your wonderful vision. And you weren't here when I was introducing you, but I have been your fan. Sorry. Your food, Mera Food, and especially your fish pickle has sustained my joy all these decades. And my bag has been packed with Mera Food. I've carried it all over the world. So if you like to the Zubaan, the time is yours, 10 minutes.
Thank you, Dolly, and thank you, the team of Zubaan, for making me a part of this wonderful session on food politics. The vision which I would like to share here is that we are been working from last so many years for sustainability in food. If you really see that the past, in the past of Manipur history, the involvement, the participation of women in making this sustainable supply of food is very active. They have been very closely working with that. Even in the marketing of all the products, whatever they produce, solely taken responsibility by women only. That's a very good example of women market. If you go to the Imam market in Imphal, you can see that it's only the women who are selling all the eatable items in the market. But with the change of the culture, with the change of the society, and with the internet facilities and everything, the fast growing, the development which we are seeing today, the influence we cannot stop. So the incoming of many of the foods are increasing day by day. When I was working in the NGO sector in 1990 till 2003, I worked with many of the organizations, and also worked for the women, women empowerment projects, and so livelihood projects, and also in the training institute. There, we were also always trying to find out what is the root cause that our society is not developing, and we have not been able to achieve what we are dreaming for. So one of the reasons we found out during those days was it's unemployment. We are not able to meet the basic need by the way we are earning. And we are still on the very agrarian way of livelihood, and still living on hand to mouth. The way of life. It's only a certain section of society who are well off, and people, those who are in government sector or in the business, also in the larger business, they feel that they are in the higher, and they have all control on all over the resources we all have. Very good example of the control of resources that people, those who are living in the this city area, are owning all the village peripheries. It's only the farmers, those who are farming in the village area, it's not owned by them. Those land are not owned by them. they are just working as on the contract basis as a labor to that farm, and they have to pay in the term. It may not be called as a tax, but it's a shared kind of the product, that some certain portion of whatever they produce in the year, they have to give back to the owner of the land. So that kind of farming is still going on. And even though there's a little difference in the farming sector or agriculture sector or in the food, the politics, that the politics in the valley and the politics in the hill is a little different, because the control system is also very different. That's why you see the lots of differences there. But the basic is that women take the responsibility of nurturing their family. So they are very concerned. They have all the knowledge of what is good and what is available, and what to be cooked for the children, what to be cooked for the elderly, what to be cooked for the ailed people in the family, and for the other family members as well, and how to feast in the family as well when there is some gathering, but in what way you can do it. So maximum, most of these things were been taken care from the local product only. But with the recent changes, we see lots of new things. Like, for example, I'll just give an example of the fish. Till from the last before 20 years back, if you see that in most of the feast, in most of the gathering, wherever, when we used to have the fish curry in our table, it used to be local fish only. Now we see that market is in flux with the fish from Andhra Pradesh. So there are price factors also, that the Andhra's fish and fish which is coming from outside or from the Bangladesh or from the West Bengal is much cheaper than the fish you are buying in the local, which is rare in local. Even though the taste wise is different, but because that people are going for this, the cheaper availability, they are going for that. And in that way, you can see that the how much money been sent outside of the state. So this is not only the thing. We see that there are lots of things which we can make it here itself. We can process it here itself. We can rear it here itself. But we are not doing much on that. With that vision, I started this Myra Foods, thinking that we can employ these women, because the food, as they have been taking care from last so many years, and they know how to cook for themselves and to serve others. So this is the best option, that food processing is a area where they can take it as their domain, and that they also know that what is available in the market or in and around of us, and what can be grown in a bulk. So that's how we started Myra Food. We started from a very simple kind of product called the dried amla, because amla is available throughout the year in plenty, and we know that this is one of the richest source of vitamin C. And amla cannot be replaced by any of the fruits. There are so many other fruits available in the market, and very expensive fruits, but the content of vitamin C which we have in amla cannot be compared with any fruits. So this is the highest and richest source of vitamin C. The amla has to be promoted actually. When you promote the consumptions of fruit, we have to promote the consumptions of amla. And that can be grown anywhere, whether in the roadside. Instead of doing tree plantation of this decorative trees, I'll always promote to grow amla in roadside. I'll definitely promote to grow the Indian goose, Indian olive, or carambola, the star fruits, the mangoes, those kind of fruits which can be grown so easily, and you can have in plenty, and that's how you can achieve what you really want to achieve. So that is one of the thing which we started doing it. So amla is one we targeted. We also started sourcing those tamarind, which we found that the tamarind which you get in other part of India, and tamarind which you have in Manipur is much sweeter, and even the size of the seed is small, and you get more pulp. So you can make lots of product out of the tamarind. And we have people don't believe that Manipur has lots of mango production. So because we have been thinking that mango is only from other part of the India, maybe from Bihar or maybe from some part of West Bengal or in Pune, or there are some other state where they have very good production of mango. But Manipur also has a mango. We have a very different varieties of mango available, but that has not been, we have not worked on preserving those kind of mango. And because of that, lots of infestation is going with that mango. So that mango, the species has to be preserved actually. And we can really earn lots through that. That is one area we see. And as you know that now hectares and hectares of land been occupied for cultivating pineapple. And I have lots of pineapple products. I have started making the pineapple jam, pineapple the juice, pineapple dried form, which is, let's say, pineapple dried. This is dried without using any sugar, any salt. It's directly dried, and it's so healthy that you get all the goodness of the pineapple through that. So we should see those possibilities through which we can save our fruits, save our land, save our farmer, and also that the economy should still remain in. And when we drink, the sustainability should comes from within, not from that somebody will come and help you and make you sustain. We have to work on what is possible here. We should know that what best suited for us. So focus on that, and basic and focusing on that what is our basic necessity. We should start growing on those things. We have a culture of maintaining kitchen garden with every household. If you go to Meitei, that the structures of making house, at the back of the house, there will be like the whole constructions of the house will be at the back side. Just at the like far back, you'll see those bamboo groves there, and some the animals are there. In the the frontal side, you'll see that it's usually most of the house are faced on eastern side. So just in the front, you'll see the pond where you'll be rearing your fish. So every Meitei household used to have a pond, a kitchen garden, and a house, and at the back there's bamboo grove. So it was the house, the structure of those, maintaining of those things was so complete that you don't have to depend on any other thing. So only the rice was the only basic necessity thing we have to get it from the farm. Otherwise, everything was there in around. So the food was very much sustainable that way. But with the changing, very fast changing structure of your society, with the division of land, and that urbanization, those ponds has gone. Now you don't see any bamboo groves in your house and in and around, and rearing of animals, and have like people laugh on when you start rearing the animals or the chickens in and around your house. So this structure is changing. Now we depend on that the farm cultivation or farm rearing of animals, and the fish from the bigger ponds, fish from the bigger farms, where I don't know how it has been reared. You can see that in the farms that you have feed them with those, the feed which is artificial, and it's with lots of what you call antibiotics, then food supplements, and so which may be very harmful to you and to us, and but still we are taking those because we don't have any the pond in and around house. So because of those things, the food habit still remains, but the availability of food has gone. So now we depend on the food which comes from outside, instead of we start planting or start rearing in our own local way. We used to do it, which used to be much safer. And also that in the vegetable, the field, if you really go in these days, when you go to the market, you will see the potato and the onion has been dominated on all the vegetables. So there's a war of potato and the onion. But there's so much alternative to potato. instead of potato, you can use so many other things. Like we have varieties of yam, we have varieties of tapiokas, we have this the gourds which we used to eat with our meats and in the vegetable form. And the potato has replaced so many things. And again, for in the place of this onion, we used to use lots of the leafy vegetable which has a very similar kind of the herbs, like the chives, like now we call it Chinese chive, but we also used to have our own way of taking those herbs in cooking with our food, or taking in the raw form, which was much healthier. And the growing was also so easy that we used to have a supply for whole year. So we don't have to spend money on those things. We could have saved those money and find those better alternatives to it. Yeah.
Wrap it up. Sorry.
Sorry?
We're going to have discussion time.
Yeah, the time is okay. So I just want to focus on that. We have local fruits and vegetable which is available in plenty. If we really focus on that, and if we focus on the traditional food instead of depending on the outside supply, and later on if we increase our own production, if we start exporting those, that will be much more beneficial and sustainable for our future. That's what I see in this food politics. There are so many other things we can really talk on, like the politics on road, which is going on. Like whenever there is some demands, you want to pressure on the government, you block the national highway. And we call it economic blockade. And what we suffer is that the common people, we don't have enough food supply to us, and we suffer on that line. So there are so many other politics which is going on this line of food. We can really take up many other things, but maybe next time. Yeah.
Thanks. Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for 2 or 3 speakers. We are so way behind time, but if it's okay with Zubaan, can we extend this to 1 round of questions? Yeah. Vidisha, Ishani, are you here with me?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes. So if you can give me the questions, I'm happy to give it to the 3 panelists. We'll have 1 round of questions. So.
Ali, I've sent you 1 round already. I think Anishani is sending you the second. Pushpa has already responded to some on the chat box.
Okay. So I think we have the first round is for Shubhra. We have, all right. So
yeah,
I
think that I see one question from Vatsala.
Yes.
Are there any alternative ways to packaging and sell produce in the market that is sustainable too? It is because that we don't have the production unit here who are very specialized in the packaging food item. Of course, the glass bottles are very much sustainable than compared to the plastic bottles. But because that most of my products been carried in some other country or some other part of the India, so carrying is very difficult with the glass bottles. There's always a chances of breakage. So even though I started packing some of my pickles in the glass bottle, but people still prefer to buy in the plastic bottle. That's why I have put inside another plastic package which is much safer to health. That's a PP, which is more of food grade. So I have tied there so that leakage won't be there, and double packing is there, because I consider that most of my products been carried away to other part. Yeah, that is one. For the for immediate consumptions, instead of using the plastic and paper, you can always go with the banana leaves and leaf plates, leaf bowls, and all those, which is very near to the nature. But for the safety point of view, because it is not airtight, most of your product has to be kept airtight, and for the food safety purpose. So in that leaf bowls and leaf plate, it is not possible. For immediate serve, it is possible. So it depends on that how you have been serving your food. If it is for the immediate consumptions, definitely we'll go with that. Otherwise, for the packaging, for the time being, I'm doing it. But recently I've started with this paper package, especially with a dry thing. This is a package, this is a paper base, and inside, which is more plastic look like, but it's a biodegradable one. This transparent is biodegradable. So I'm changing it, but because it's cost-wise, The cost factor is another, because my buyer has to bear the cost of this packaging. So those who are agreed to bear this cost, I'm happy to change all my packaging material. Otherwise, yeah, I still have to stick with those plastic, but this is reusable because this is with a zipper. Once you open it, you can put some other food also, and you can save it and put it inside the fridge. So 2-3 times you can use it. So it is much safer that way. It's not a one-time use. You can use it for 2-3 times. So that's what I've been trying to. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shubhra. Seno, there's a question for you. In terms of, you mentioned the need for documentation. So what are the activities underway to document traditional food practices that you can share with us?
Yeah, we have done some, I think, is it?
No, that's
is it
for Seno. Yeah, that's
okay,
for Seno.
Yeah, please, Seno. Yeah.
Like what we have done documenting is now, like at a very basic stage. What we have done is, identifying the local eatables, both wild and cultivated, that we have done in a small way. And also like what we have done is I have one, like the millet recipe book, which is also like a traditional, both traditional and the innovations that have been done. So like something like small pamphlets where we can also, like use it as, something that we can proudly carry, that this is something of our recipe, traditional recipe, and also like a lot of innovations have gone in, so that, like it meets to the needs of, like the young people's taste, because, like some people are not very much, like wanting to have the traditional taste. And of course, like there are also some organizations who have done a lot of like documentation. NESFAS based in Shillong is one. And I think, yeah, the documentation, the culinary skills, like a few of, the tribal bodies, they have also started, especially the women's group, they have started documenting the local cuisines and all. And I think it is important to start this type of documentation from the ground till it comes to the plate.
Thank you so much, Seno. Pushpa, there's a question for you. Can you tell us something about the dong ban system?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
yeah, actually, Dongban system is a system managed by the community. Say, actually, even though Bhutan, like the Baska region, receives a lot of rainfall, but because of its elevation, all the water flows away to the Brahmaputra Valley. So what happens in winter and also during the months where there is less rain, farmers need water in their fields. So what they do, they go to the border of India, border between India and Bhutan. They construct, like temporary dams there with all available, locally available resources like, like trees, jungles, like big boulders and stones. And what they do, they will construct these bands and raise the water level, and they will let it flow along canals which are managed by the communities. There are almost 7 such community managed dams in the upstream of Pagladia River in Baska district. And through these canals, water will flow to their paddy fields for their domestic purpose. For every even it's part of their life, and they manage it so well. They have a ban committee. There will be people who will be guarding those dams upstream in the Indo-Bhutan border. And if the rainwater or if the river water from Bhutan washes away all those dams, they will come and again they will repair those, so that the water keeps flowing to their fields continuously. And actually it's a very beautiful system. If you there are lots of system, there are rules, regulations there. For example, if you don't say if you have 10 bighas of land, so you'll have to go for 10 days in a year at least. And if you don't go, you'll have to pay a fine. Also, you cannot and there will be in the distribution system, you won't get water every day. There'll be in a week they will get water for 1 or 2 days. So that way they have developed their own rules, and they're able to use those water for their daily everyday livelihood as well as for agriculture. and it has been
Thank you.
there is no government intervention there. It is managed by the community only.
Thank you so much. I think given that we started late, I'm going to take this opportunity to at least have the second question round, which is a very important one, and that's for everyone. So this question is regarding the pressure. So Seno, Shubhra, and Pushpa, please take your time. But this is a question regarding cash crop, right? So how do we then face or resist market pressure to actually grow, to actually get into monocropping? How do we maintain the crops diversity, even as we are looking at the pressure for economy and for looking at agricultural crops in terms of income avenue? So Seno, can you go first, and then we'll come to Shubhra, and then we'll finally come to Pushpa.
One of the biggest concern is that our farms are being replaced by monoculture, and this is from the government and also some private parties, and this is a great concern. So what we do as a strategy is that we try to mobilize the farmers, especially women farmers who are in control of the seeds and like who are the ones who manage the food farms. So we try to mobilize them, and then we see that the importance of growing our own food, feeling secure of our own food is first taken care of, and then whatever is surplus can be sold in the local markets within our own area. So very important, one point is to make sure that you mobilize farmers to know the importance of food crops and to grow, to have food secure, food security, and also to have the market. So in a way, like building the local economies within the local ecosystems, which is decentralization and decentralization of production and also consumption. That is, by promoting the local markets. So two things I wish to say that very important in this aspect.
Thank you. Shubhra, your turn.
When we talk about the cash crops, you can always see that this is always played by the big player actually in the market. Those who have money in their hand, they are the one who hold the land also, and who has the power as well. So it's very difficult to resist them. But still, as I'm very closely working with the Manipur Organic Mission Agency, and we are promoting those organic cultivation. So when we promote this organic cultivation of some of the crops there, we instead of doing the monoculture, we are also doing that the mixed culture. So it's more of the permanent way of cultivation. So when we are planting the pineapples, we are not saying that plant only the pineapples. In between, in the space, we promote them to grow the perkia, the tree beans, or the jackfruits, the mangoes, and the lemons, even this many other fruits, which is more sustainable actually for the future. So instead of growing only one, we can grow many more together. Or in between with the space, we can also promote them to grow the legumes, which is nitrogen fixing. It has a character of nitrogen fixing contain. So instead of putting more of the fertilizer, if you started growing in between those leguminous plants, you can reduce the inputs of those nitrogen fixing the fertilizer. So that's why we are promoting, we have been training this farmer to do in such a way. So maybe in a very smaller sector, but this is the future what we see for the farmers of Manipur. Another way is that the paddy, the cultivation, the maximum land of Manipur been utilized for the paddy cultivation. So after paddy cultivation, we are not utilizing those land. We just let it barren for some time. So instead of that, what we are promoting them is that let's do some other farming as well along with that. Either you can, if it is the water logging system is there, we can do the pisciculture along with the paddy, or if it is the dried area, then we can do with the legume plantation or some other plantation which will sustain our food supply. So that's what we have been doing it, and we still continue to do it. But again, we also have to understand the economy of our farmers. That why is it that they are not following? Why is it that what is stopping them to do this practice? So is it because the influence of the rich people, they wanted to follow what they are doing, and the earning from your the farm, are you not satisfied enough with the sustaining of food? You wanted to earn some extra. So we also have to understand the psyche of the people, that why is it that people are not following which is more sustainable way. So it is more on the motivation part. In this COVID has teach us lots of lesson. When everything is shut down, what you are looking for the food supply. Your food supply has to be sustained. You don't have to depend on others if you have enough supply at your in and around you. That's what during this lockdown period we have really worked with so many organizations where we are talking about sustainable food cultivation. So every corner of your house in and around should not be left it empty. Plant it, whatever you can plant it, so that you will have enough supply of food when nothing is supplied, nothing comes to you. So that's how we have been doing it. So we should not promote those monoculture, but we cannot stop it. That also we have to understand. But we should restrict some area, some reserve area has to be there, which has to belong to community, and we can control that way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pushpa.
We are characterized by very small, like our farmers have very small land holdings. Say like hardly average, I think it is around 0.5 hectares. So in such a situation, monocropping, we can always avoid monocropping by, as Shubhra has just told, we can design a crop crop rotation and sequencing system in such a way that we can grow various crops. You can maintain a soil fertility that also in a very sustainable way. So I think monocropping will not be a a threat to us. It will we can always avoid it, and we can always grow diverse crops. We can go for crop diversification. What we need to do is to incorporate other activities like livestock farming, because in order to recycle the nitrogen and other fertility, organic carbon and all those things, we need a integrated system where we will have livestock also, and we have normal crops also growing in our fields. So in that way, I think monocropping should not be our motto. Actually, we can go for always mix kind of a proper crop sequencing where our farmers can utilize their small land holding to earn their livelihood.
Thank you so much, Pushpa. And if I can take this time as the chair for the webinar, I am overwhelmed with the knowledge and the wisdom that's flowing from three panelists. And like I said, the time allotted is so short, so please take this as a trailer as this conversation is put up on YouTube. Our amazing dynamic visionary Seno, Pushpa, and Shubhra. Please expect to get lots of calls from young people all over the country and beyond, seeking your guidance and knowledge. If I can wrap it up in a very incomplete way, what I have learned from all of you today, and also from the participants who continue to send us their questions and their amazing comments, is said to do with forests and rivers. That's how Seno starts. And I would like to actually acknowledge the work that Northeast Network has done to guide us through in terms of looking at gender justice, looking at the right to food campaigns, and also looking at food sovereignty. Seno shows us how sharing in community and the forests and rivers are so central to what we eat, and how is it that we can actually start thinking about that, about environmental politics, about food sovereignty, which is again linked to food security. Pushpa actually guides us towards looking at agriculture, right? So the land that Seno shows us, the forest that she shows us, Pushpa calls our attention to actually the Brahmaputra Valley, looking at some horrifying statistics like 15,000 crores of rice imported to only the state of Assam per year. The way he presents his work for me is actually about understanding our loss as people from the region. What are we losing in agriculture? And this is something that he wants to remind us. If we think about agriculture, what is that culture that we are losing? He truly shows us that we have to actually depend on something called community-based organization and community cooperatives. We have to bring in the idea of community. We have to respect farmers. We have to see how is it that irrigation, indigenous systems, and mechanization of agriculture will help us. He talks about skills. He talks about actually upskilling our knowledge in terms of science. He talks about the reality of low productivity, of scarcity of labor, of out-migration that is happening. And I think these are real things that we need to talk about. As a lot of us, I think as we listen into this, it'll be urban listeners, it'll be English-speaking listeners, college-going professionals who will be listening into the Zubaan webinar. And this is where the culture of food, our culture of food from the Northeast needs to situate ourselves in this deep thinking, in these deep complexities. The third speaker wonderfully shows us her vision about marketing, about food, about women, and how in a way they envision entrepreneurship. She very directly brings attention to something called the market. It's a reality that we have to go to the market, we have to buy, as we demand organic, as we demand paper bags. What is at stake? As she shows us those packages, she asks us, do you have the money actually to buy this? I'm willing to upskill it. I'm willing to repackage it. Will you buy it? How do we then understand this? I think she wonderfully tells us and challenges us that, listen, you need to actually consider food processing. And in a very wonderful way says that, okay, we need to think about then food preservation, right? We need to think about eating out of season, but learning to process our food, learning to buy our food, learning in a way to think about food sovereignty in terms of eating local, but at the same time understanding that we need money to purchase that local fish over that under fish, right? We need to understand what is our local pineapple. When we say pineapple, we need to connect that with the wonderful plate of food that Seno shows us, with that challenge that Pushpa is giving us in terms of, do we dare then to learn about the complexities to buy our own food, to buy our own rice? And I think these are really powerful challenges for us right there. The three visionaries giving us this vision, and at the same time, the challenges, telling us we need to actually take on this board very, very seriously and join the movement with them. I am extremely humbled, and it really has given me a lot of food to think. And in a long, long time, I have been challenged as chair by such amazing discussion and by three panelists that I continue to be inspired. So thank you so much, Zubaan, for this time. And thank you to these amazing three panelists. I give back the time to our Zubaan organizers, and would like to thank you all once again.
Thank you to all our speakers, Seno, Shubhra, and Puspadhar. Thank you to our chair, Dolly, for guiding, directing, and weaving this very informative session. Thank you to all our participants for joining us today. And I would just like to inform that the recording of this webinar will be posted online on YouTube. You can go to our channel, have a look at the video whenever it's up. And also, please don't forget to share and like and subscribe to our channel. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you. Goodbye.